we've touched on it there. We were talking about how young people are with going into perimenopause and stuff, and it seems as if that age is getting younger and younger and younger. I mean, you've worked with people who, I want to say, was it 25 something?
No, she was 22, and she'd been to the GP that many times, and at each instant they just didn't think to test her hormones. I mean, that's not really surprising because, again, women in their perimenopausal years, like mid-30s, 40s, and even now, like if you are in your 50s and you go to the GP and you say, I've got this, this and this symptom, based on your symptoms, you will be given HRT. So there's no physical testing done, you know, and that amazes me because, you know, at each step you have any kind of medication, insulin, any kind of medication, you have blood tests done to see where you are, where your base levels are at. And fair enough, we can't diagnose, or doctors, medical professions cannot diagnose that you are perimenopausal or cannot diagnose that you are menopausal. But in the same instance, you should be able to have blood tests just to get a baseline and see where things are going. But yeah, my youngest client was 22, and her mum came to me and said, you know, my daughter's really struggling. We don't really know what's going on. She's never been on the contraceptive pill. Her periods are all over the place. Can we do something? And then I said yes, and we did some testing, and her estrogen and progesterone levels were extremely low. So then we worked, you know, with nutrition and homeopathics and herbal medicine, got her up to a certain point where she feels better in herself, and she has had a few periods. So, you know, yeah, I see that as a gain.
100%, massively. And she probably feels a million times better from it. So, I mean, that's such a young age, 22, that's incredible. But that perimenopausal age is getting younger and younger. And we've had conversations before as to why that may be. And you touched on it earlier in terms of the amount of plates that you guys are spinning as women now, with the amount of things you take on. I mean, we've rewind maybe 30, 40 years ago, it sounds horrible from a guy saying it, but you generally would be, you'd have your children, you'd be potentially stay-at-home mums, you would have a couple of spinning plates, but now you're business owners. The amount of things you take on is so much more than previous. Do you think that contributes to why potentially perimenopause is happening younger?
For me, I think it's one of the main root causes of an early perimenopause. With clients that I see, with my own personal experience of having 4 or 5 intensely stressful events happening all at the same time, which contributed to me experiencing, you know, a premature perimenopause. I definitely think that women are just, we want it all. We should have it all. We deserve things in our lives. We've worked really hard, or we've studied really hard. We've got to a point in our lives where, you know, we think we're achieving things, and that's amazing for us. But then, you know, we have the children and the elderly parents and life stresses, money woes. You know, we're in a recession at the moment. So there's all of these things, you know, pounding us, and we don't even realise it's all in the subconscious, and that is slowly but surely eroding our cortisol levels, or, you know, spiking our cortisol levels, causing inflammation. And then we're going out, you know, we're training really hard, we're doing HIIT, we're doing all of these kind of things that what we did once, we perhaps did those in our early 20s, our 30s, and it worked, or we're consuming less calories, we're going on low carb diets, we are consistently depleting ourselves from all angles. And then we get to a stage where, you know, perimenopausal symptoms like brain fog, anxiety, breast tenderness, you know, loss of periods, no sleep, too much sleep, you know, it's all coming at us from all angles.
It shows again, doesn't it, like nothing's for free, everything's transactional. If you want to take on all of this stuff, something else is going to give. And it's exactly what sort of seems to be happening there. When you're taking so much on, you're creating more cortisol, you're creating more stress, you're reducing your ability to actually break down that stress and break down that cortisol, because there's only so much your body can take. And then bang, like you say, it's we've had this conversation before, haven't we? I do think it's a massive contributing factor as to why people are having it younger, because yeah, the stresses that women put upon themselves, you put more stresses on themselves at an earlier age, and also at the same time potentially having children at an older age because of these things. And again, that causes potential hiccups and potential issues. I mean, I can't remember exactly what the stats were. We've had a look at them before, but I've seen it in the past. Once there's a reason that women have sort of suggested that at the age of 35 or above, if they're having children, they become high risk, and that is due to the amount of hormones. Am I right? That when you get to 35 or above, the amount of eggs or the amount of actual ovaries and stuff, that there is, I can't remember the numbers exactly, but it's dramatically reduced. It's like such a small percentage.
I think it's something to do with the ovarian reserve. So when you are in vitro, you have all the follicles that you will ever have as an adult woman. And then obviously when you go through puberty and you start to ovulate, and then ovulation signals, that it's time for a menstrual bleed, because that's no longer a pregnancy. Each of those follicles can mature into eggs. And then by the age of about 35, ovarian reserve declines.
Yeah, because you don't like with guys, we constantly create fresh sperm. Like you say, this is the amount that you have, and then every single time you have a menstrual bleed or anything like that, it is reducing time and time and time again, isn't it? So by the time you get to 35, the amount you have now to have the opportunity dramatically reduced. So that's why more and more people, I suppose, are having IVF, are having these treatments, because they've almost, waiting too long is probably the wrong thing to say, but it is a bit of that.
There is something to be said for, okay, you might have a lower ovarian reserve, but it's the quality of the egg. What are you eating? What are you doing to yourselves to support the quality of that egg? And again, we come to fat, good quality fat. Are you eating enough? Because the eggshell needs to be quite malleable for the sperm to enter. And if you don't have enough essential fat in your diet, the shell is hardened, so the sperm can't actually enter. How many women know that? How many women know that nutrition has such a massive impact on the quality of your egg? Yeah. So you could be 35 plus and you could have a child. It's not like set in stone.
No, absolutely.
There's so much around what you're eating, how that affects you, your lifestyle, your diet, your thoughts, how you behave. Such an impact on fertility. And there is one more thing that I would like to add there. That is, when you are, from what I see, when women are thinking of conceiving and they're like, I'll give myself 3 months. So 3 months of, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to start training like an absolute Trojan. I'm going to train like I've never trained before, and I'm going to eat a certain way because, if I get pregnant, I might get big. However that is thought of, I might get fat, I might get big. Well, obviously you're housing a child. Of course you are physically going to change, but it's just that I'm going to really train hard so that my body can go back to its original state after I've had my child. And again, you're not thinking, if you are nurturing a child in there, you've already started in minus figures, you've already depleted things, you've already trained really hard, stress levels are always preferred, perhaps you've got lower progesterone levels. Don't really think about how it affects your hormones, and then how that goes on to maybe having a child, and then perhaps you've tried for a few months and you've not had a successful pregnancy, and then you're going straight to IVF. You've not given your body that time to relax and to just eat well and rest well. And that's a situation where perhaps I would say maybe don't train so hard, maybe do more relaxing physical pursuits like yoga and other things to get pregnant.
Cool.